perception, yeah. So
Let's tie this a little bit with actually relating to UGA. Now the narrative is, and it shifts to Todd Gurley versus Sony Michel, running back you here at UGA, and now they have two of their latest greats to come through the program here, and now they're going to face off in the Super Bowl. As far as I assume that's going to be the narrative surrounding a lot of UGA fans. Now the narrative for now is, or the big picture wise, is Rams versus Tom Brady again, the team that Tom Brady faced to kick off his dynasty. But for Todd Gurley, he didn't have exactly the greatest of games in that game. They interviewed him afterwards, and he was just saying it was about his teammates picking him up. But on the other end, in Kansas City, Sony Michel's going off, and he's continuing this form he's hit in the past two playoff games. But as far as like for running back, what UGA is and what they call themselves, to see this and see these two top running backs in the Super Bowl, what does that do for the team recruiting wise? I mean, does that solidify it even more if we had any doubts who it was? I'm not saying that there were any doubts whatsoever of who running back you was, but what's that do for recruiting wise? You got recruits texting or tweeting throughout the games too, saying, yo, look at this, look what UGA did, and these running backs now in the Super Bowl.
Obviously, it's a great recruiting tool, and that just solidifies their claim to being RBU, but, it's pretty expected. I think these are blue-chip guys who also play for blue-chip coaches in great systems. Let's call it what it is. The Rams did not win the NFC Championship game because of Todd Gurley's 10 rushing yards, and the Patriots did not. Sony Michel was great. I'd say he is a critical piece of the puzzle there. He is not what carried them. Yeah, it's cool to see, but part of it is both of those guys went to the right situation. And it's not to say they're not great players, but, it's not like we got Georgia running backs carrying entire NFL teams to the Super Bowl on their backs. Like, Michel had a great year, but the Patriots have had they put running backs in position to succeed. And it's been – and they need that to win. Last time they won a Super Bowl was the year LeGarrette Blount went over 1,100 yards and had 18 rushing touchdowns. They need that element. Yeah. Michel gives that to them. So I see him as kind of like that added piece to Tom Brady's offense that could take him there. And I think how him and just the Patriots – running game performs in the Super Bowl will maybe decide it. And then the Rams obviously are going to need more from Todd Gurley. So those two guys, while I just said that they're not the reason they didn't carry their teams to the Super Bowl, they might be the most important players in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I agree with you on how they didn't carry their teams to the Super Bowl, but at the same time, they both had really successful seasons. You look at the regular season, nobody expected this out of Sony Michel, rookie out of Georgia. And then Todd Gurley, he's been good. Everybody knows he's the real deal. But, again, he put on another clinic out in Los Angeles this year and for a while was in that MVP conversation before he got kind of hurt down the stretch in limited minutes when the Rams started to lock things up. And so I think this is a great look for Georgia and kind of that in the past decade or so, the amount of talent that they've developed in such close proximity to each other. Maybe it takes away, Quentin mentioned they were on the same team here along with Nick Chubb. All three of those guys on the roster, all three had a successful year in the National Football League. So I think maybe if you're a recruit, they can say, hey, I can go to a place like Georgia where there are other great running backs already there in the system. Maybe I'm not the number one guy that gets 30 carries a game. Maybe you're splitting it with someone else, getting 15 to 20 a game. But those guys are coming out fresh, and this has proven that multiple star backs can be on one college roster and go on to have continued success. And so I think it helps in recruiting great guys to come play together and say, hey, let's try and get one in college, and then we can go do our thing. Maybe like these two, meet for the grand prize in the NFL.
They say you want to play together, in my opinion, if you're great running backs, so you can stay fresh. You don't want to use up all your miles in college. You don't want to blow the tires early before you can make some money. So, yeah, all three of those guys were great this year. It'll be of great interest to me to see if Sony and Nick Chubb can continue it because Gurley is special in that regard where a lot of running backs have trouble sustaining success as you get older.
Well, even Gurley's facing some injuries this year too, and it's just more than anything with the position itself, his career. But as far as like full circle, kind of even for Sony though, last game, national championship game against Alabama in 2017. That's his last college game ever. Then now, a year later, able to go into another championship game in the NFL. Same stadium.
Yeah, same stadium. Yeah.
Mine's already ready just to say it. He's back in Mercedes-Benz. As far as what's the story, I mean, for how cool of a story is that for you guys? And as far as now that it's here in Atlanta, isn't it a little bit fitting that it almost, 50 miles from Athens? Well, I don't know the approximate distance wise, but where both these running backs are meeting now.
I said last week the Falcons fans' nightmares were going to come true with the Saints-Patriots Super Bowl. I don't know if this is like the dream scenario because it's the Patriots are there and the demons of Super Bowl 51 will be present, but I think this is a decent consolation prize for Georgia area football fans to see these two guys in there.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that maybe you get a little bit of petty arguing back and forth between kind of people that don't have a rooting interest for one of the teams in the game, but have ties to Georgia. Maybe that's how they decided. Hey, I was in school when Todd Gurley was there, so I'm going to go for the Rams in this one. Or no, I just graduated in 2017. It's all Sony and Chubb for me, so I've got the Pats because of Sony Michel. So I think this sparks a little bit of maybe friendly banter, friendly debate within the Georgia fan base, and like Colin said, in Atlanta, there's a lot of people that bleed red and black, whether it's the Falcons, Atlanta United, or the Georgia Bulldogs. And this is going to be fun to see for them. It'll be fun for those two guys, I think, coming back kind of close to where they played collegiately. Both of them have great ties back to the area. And so it'll be fun. I'm sure the media will be all over it, especially local media in Atlanta, getting that story out and kind of on the wires. And it'll be exciting to see. Those two guys are friends. They're on the same team together. And so kind of like Colin said, for the brand of RBU, great to see if you're here, if you're on the coaching staff. For the fan base, it's a pretty good consolation prize to having the Pats come to your city if you're a Falcons fan.